Hi, Bill Henshaw here again, another one of my YouTube current events videos. And this one's on an issue I haven't discussed hardly at all up until this point, but it's one closely related to all the other issues, the COVID issues, the landlord tenant issues, and all of those things. But this one deals with family law and child support. And I've talked to people that are a bit more up to speed than I am in this area, but I'm getting information coming in. And they tell me it's more corrupt than anything you see in the traffic court or the probate court or whatever. And that's saying something. As I understand it, it doesn't matter whether you're married or not. Although, to start out with, by the way, they think that we need their permission to get married, a marriage license. Understand, Black's Law Dictionary defines license, quote unquote, permission granted by competent authority to do an act that without such permission would be illegal, a trespass, or a tort. That's the definition, and they can't sustain their burden of proof in any, like driver's license, marriage license, you name it. Can't do it. And the reason is we created this government back in 1787 with the Constitution to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. In other words, we're in what should be and what once was a principal and agent relationship that has now been converted, to a guardian and ward, or to put it more bluntly, master and slave, courtesy of the ratification of the non-existent 14th War Amendment. And if you get my document packet, send me an email, youwinincourt@gmail.com. I'll tell you all about these subjects and what I believe we can still do about it and get rid of these bastards and get them off our back and get our government back in that we're supposed to have. That's a big undertaking. I may not be around to see this fully happen, but I'm going to do the best I can over the next 8 or 10 years or longer with a little luck. But family history and genes tell me that's about the area I have. But that's what it is that we need to do. Now, it gets worse. Family law crap. And it comes under, ready for this, 26 USC 6305B. And that law, and they didn't tell you anything about this when you applied for social insecurity benefits, didn't tell me either when I was 16 years old. And when I found out, I rescinded it on the record by certified mail. And I cited this particular statute, among other reasons they didn't tell me, because it says in there that no court of the United States, whether authorized under Article 1 or Article 3, shall have any jurisdiction to review the assessment of taxes made by the Secretary. Now, this statute's been around 80 odd years, and there are very few case law decisions, absolutely none, discussing the issues that I just told you. Because if they did, I mean, the plain fact of the matter is the Internal Revenue Code is a bill of attainder. Taking a property without judicial process, or I should say life, liberty, or property without judicial process, Congress can't do that, can they? Damn, that's an interesting question. You'll learn a lot about that. Send me information from my document packets, and you'll read all about how this has come to happen and what we can do about it. So email me, youwinincourt@gmail.com, and learn a lot more about this and how you can protect your rights, teach your children, their children, and your posterity how to get out from under and get away from these bastards. So that said, that's the only thing you find under 23 USC 6305B are a handful of cases on child support. Now think about this. What business is it of what I identify as the de facto National Socialist government to deal with issues of child support for those living in judicial districts of states? Wow, that one sentence that blows you away when you think about it. And yet, this all goes back to guess what? The war between the states and Reconstruction. And I've got new information, by the way. I'm updating some of my documents, and you'll get those. Those of you that subscribe and get my newsletters, my documents, will get 1 year's update on all documents. And I'm going to have a lot of updates coming your way, as I have had over the course of the last 60 days. But it's the work I do. what I was put here to do. I just didn't know it 50 years ago, like I should have known had they taught us any damn thing in high school. And you have the same problem. They simply in the de facto, mandatory public education system, you don't learn jack shit about any of this. The only thing I heard, for example, about President Andrew Johnson, our greatest president, is that he was impeached. Didn't tell you a damn thing what he was impeached for. Didn't tell you he survived it by one vote, and didn't tell you the real reasons for it. And those are stories for another video. But trust me, it's a very interesting story about it. So, and you'll learn more about that by getting my documents. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com, and get started on education that will improve your life significantly and make it better for your children and their children in the mix. So that's it, child support. And it gets even worse because you go in, and no matter what we're dealing with the government, this is a particularly acute area. When they make awards of child support and who knows what other fees, penalties, and whatever, they do it in undefined dollars. Whoa, wait a minute. I thought where I came from that the dollar was defined by gold and silver as it was in the Coinage Act of 1792 and still is. Oh, by the way. But these undefined dollars are what the Federal Reserve used to do what the Fed chairman in 1942, Mariner S. Eccles, what an appropriate name for that. And he claimed on the record, House Subcommittee on Banking and Finance, that the Fed could create money out of debt, and without debt, there would be no money. That's the dictionary definition of federal regional martial law rule, and yet we're not subject to it because there's no known declared state of rebellion or invasion. And forget about the COVID pandemic BS. That doesn't come close to qualifying here for a variety of reasons that I'll be discussing in another video. But they can't possibly use that to suspend this writ if the Constitution remains in effect. And that's the question I'm going to have on the desk of the 9 old farts. Maybe not before the inauguration, if there is one, but not that long thereafter. And I'm going to tell them, do your damn job, people. By your own words, we have the duty to say what the law is. Marbury versus Madison. And I'm going to ask them why they haven't been doing it for the last 150 years. And I'm going to demand that they do it and say what the law is. And if they're going to tell the American people we have no constitution, the next thing they should do is resign from office because we don't need them. We know what to do and we'll take care of business on our own if that happens. So this whole thing with the child support crap, and yes, how children need to be supported, I get that. But given what they're doing with the money these days, and it's out of everybody's control, and there's a maximum law, by the way, I think it's California's civil code here, section 3531. Might be wrong about that, but I'm going to be close. That no man is responsible for that which no man can control. So if the government's going to do all this and create money out of debt, guess what? They're the ones on the hook for child support and a whole hell of a lot more. And not only that, we're not taxpayers in a system like that either, where the 9 old farts have ruled in Enoch v. Williams, 370 U.S. 1, that a taxpayer, quote unquote, which is a corporation, can be taxed out of existence without any apparent need for an administrative hearing. Damn. This in a nation and republic where we ordained and established this Constitution to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity? Oh, weird. But this is the reason that we can beat these bastards if we start making objections like this. And you'll learn all about that by reading and studying my document packets, especially the trial court packet. There's 5 basic documents there. You get familiar with those, and you'll be a match for virtually anybody in sight on the other side. And just like in my cases, they're going to go and run the other way and get rid of business, dismiss your cases, do whatever they have to do to get out of the line of fire. I mean, that's how bad it is. And I have the track record to prove it. And I'm going to be continuing to have that track record. I'm now moving into offensive cases, which is going to be even more interesting. Petitions for redress of grievance. Because what I've been doing is specializing in setting an unopposed record in the trial court, and get cases dismissed and this, that, and the other. And now when we come back on them even in a civil rights setting, which I don't do, but I have this one brilliantly covered too if it ever comes up. That happens, that they're the ones that brought it on themselves. They failed to do the sworn duties that they took on when they accepted that position of honor, profit, and trust in government. And we have the documented dead bang record to prove it, not only in your case, but in a lot of other cases I've been involved with, some of mine, some others over the course of 5 decades. And that survives the motion to dismiss, a very convenient, what's called a summary ex parte 12B6 motion to dismiss. 95+% of civil rights cases hit the circular file on the first motion. If that happens to us, we now have a direct shot at the 9 parts in their original jurisdiction to get them to tell us why we're wrong. Because if we don't know that, here's the beaut, people. Think about this one. If we don't know why we're wrong, how can we nominate and elect people in elections that are going to fix the problems? Can't be done. There's no way. And these elections we have today are useless anyway, as you'll hear on another video, for a variety of reasons. There are no elections, especially in territories. But that said, with my help, uh, we can do a lot better with the child support issues and child custody too. That's another big deal with these damn child protective services and all the BS they put out unconstitutionally. So if you need help in that area, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. I'll be glad to work with you and help you put documents in there and say, not so fast. You don't have any jurisdiction, and we can prove it. And with that proof, if you get the entirety of the document packets, among other things, you have an 84-page unopposed brief on admission of new states. And it includes the fact that California has said in one of my cases, although they didn't say it officially, it was done by a deputy clerk of court denying a writ of habeas corpus. Talk about violations of separation of powers, delegations of authority. But it got denied for the reason that the questions you ask are beyond the jurisdiction of California courts, all of them, because they appear to raise federal issues. Wait a minute here. Well, I was on my vacation back there in Columbia, South Carolina. We had a situation come up that I saw in the news and the limited access I had to it. And as far as I know, it hasn't reached the courts, quote unquote. But an attorney was making a serious argument at the time that a transgender entity had the right to select its public bathroom because taking a crap in a government funded bathroom affects interstate commerce. If that affects interstate commerce, what is it that we do that doesn't? But the California Supreme Court is saying we don't have jurisdiction. That's a dead bang giveaway when you understand what you'll learn and what I'm going to teach you, that we're in a territory, not a state. That's the ball game, people. That's the crown jewel of all the issues that I represent, all of them that I advocate, and we can beat them across the board. That's Pandora's box. So it can be done, and I can help you with child support. I can help you with child custody, and it's very interesting stuff. You're going to love it. So that said, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe, like the videos, tell your friends, get the word out. And across the board, the more of us that do this, whether we're Americans, Asians, or Africans, the quicker we get these bastards off our backs. And that's the goal of everything I do. Thank you.